Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the March 28th Zoning Board of Appeals hearing. Since this is a virtual meeting only, I will do a roll call of the zoning board members that are here. Elizabeth Akers Moore.
Present.
Thomas Wayne.
Here until 7:30.
Ravi Fria.
Present.
And Elizabeth Dwyer Leonard.
Here.
And then just for the other people that are here are Elizabeth Hughes, Paul Creedon, and Kim Jones as staff from the town of Concord. Before we start, it saddens me to read this statement here, but I will have to read this statement, and as I said, it saddens me. But welcome to this virtual meeting of the Zoning Board of Appeals. But due to the recent events, only board members, town staff, and applicants during their presentations will have the ability to mute and unmute themselves and be able to share screen. During the public comment period of each of the applications that are before us tonight, participants that wish to speak will need to use the raised hand function. And then you will be, when the time is appropriate, you will be recognized by me, and then you will be able to unmute yourself. You will then clearly have to state your name and address for the record, after which you will have 2 minutes to make your statement or ask questions through me about the application. And that's the application that is at that point in time being discussed. It's my role to facilitate the flow of the meeting, and at my discretion, further discussions regarding a statement or questions may be appropriate if it could be helpful to the board's deliberation. Everybody here is asked to keep your statements and questions about the application before the board. If the chair informs anyone, the chair being me, informs anyone that they are out of order, you may be muted. Lastly, and this is to follow the town moderator's suggestions, I ask that everybody remain civil and above all respectful. We may have differences of opinion, but in the end, we are all neighbors and members of this community. So that's the statement. And with that, first item on the agenda tonight is a 7 o'clock hearing by the Concord Housing Development Corporation for a special permit and site plan review under zoning bylaws sections 10, 11.6, and 11.8 for a 5-unit planned residential development at 406 Old Marlborough Road. Anybody here to speak for that? Yep. You took that very little raised hand function, and you did. You did it.
Hopefully you found me. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for having us here tonight. To kick things off, the Concord Housing Development Corporation was founded in 2006 as a nonprofit entity for the purpose of investigating and implementing the provisions of affordable housing for low, moderate, and middle income persons. The CHDC is for preserving and creating affordable housing, both lowercase a and capital A. In addition to developing parcels like the one you will review today, the CHDC provides small grants for essential repairs in households facing economic hardship. This effort bolsters housing stability in a community with very high housing costs and the potential for displacement. Please know the CHDC works for the best interests of the town of Concord with community engagement, is appointed by the Select Board, and operates alongside and in a complementary manner to the Concord Housing Authority. The CHDC is not analogous to larger scale private development groups you may encounter routinely in these meetings. It operates largely with public support and public funds. The Assabet River Bluffs project at Old Marlborough Road is a celebrated example of smart development alongside preservation of open space and recreation access. 1 acre of a larger parcel was conveyed to the CHDC in 2022. This space was designated for no more than 5 units of a future homeowners association, following extensive input from Concord residents and community members. Collaboration for the project included the Concord Municipal Housing Trust, the Concord Land Conservation Trust, the Sudbury Valley Trustees, and the Concord Housing Foundation, and was supported by town meeting. What you will review today are drawings that have been developed by a local firm in Concord. Many months of revisions with planning board and town staff review bring us to today's hearing. Thank you for your consideration of this development project, a public enterprise which will enhance and improve Concord. It will be 100% affordable home ownership, and it's an exciting opportunity for Concord at an excellent site.
Thank you. Who is going to present? Anybody presenting the project? Greg, go ahead.
Mr. Chair, that's me.
Go ahead.
My name is Greg Roy with Dillison Roy, and my offices are in the center of Concord at 100 Main Street. And I appreciate the opportunity to be with you this evening, and I'll try to be as brief as possible. I see you have a full agenda. Would it be helpful to get a plan on the screen?
Yeah, you can, right, Elizabeth? You can share. I
Okay,
think.
I'll do that. Bear with me. Let's see. It's saying that it is disabled. Host disabled participant sharing.
Well, I can potentially share. Oh, you're now a co-host. Now we
Okay.
are.
All right, there we go. Bear with me. Okay, how's that? Can folks see
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, thank you.
So again, appreciate the opportunity this evening. I'm going to give you a brief overview of the site and the proposed infrastructure. Tell you a little bit about the proposed access, how the buildings were sited, some traffic management things. I'll touch on drainage and then some wastewater at the end. And of course, we are very interested in hearing your comments or any comments from the public. So I think the application that was submitted outlined the basics of what we're proposing, and Julie, I'd like to thank Julie for her introduction as well. The property is at 406 Old Marlborough Road. There's an existing 2-family structure, which is right down in this location of the site, if you can see my cursor, right up close to the road. The property was part of a 7-acre parcel, but has been subdivided into a 1-acre parcel for the purposes of this development that's before you this evening. There are 3 additional new units proposed that are shown here in peach colored that are out towards the rear of the property. 2 of those are to be 3-bedroom units, and one of those at the end is to be a 4-bedroom unit. But those would be, all 3 of those would be single-family detached homes. And then when you add the 2-family existing unit, the 2 units in the existing structure, that gets you to the 5 units, as Julie mentioned. The proposed access way is shown here in gray, as I've highlighted it. It's approximately 450 feet from the entrance at Old Marlborough Road to the back of the site. And we've designed this so that the driveway accesses to each structure will have its own driveway off of that main traveled way, if you will. So we have some areas here. You see these gray apron rectangular areas that are intended for parking for each of the individual structures and units. Stormwater management, we have submitted if anybody wants to has trouble falling asleep at night, you can pull open the drainage report and take a look through that. We did submit a rather detailed stormwater report to document compliance with the town's regulations and also the state stormwater management policy, the 10 standards that are found within that. All of the soil in this part of town, of course, is very well draining. It's a very good coarse sand material. So we are proposing infiltration of the stormwater below grade, below surface. So that promotes a very high level of infiltration. Of course, after the appropriate treatment through deep sump hooded catch basins and modern day stormwater appurtenances that you see today. But the stormwater management for the property is infiltration into the underlying soil. So we have accommodated that through the way we've designed the road and the driveway, pitching that surface to catch basins, which is then conveyed to an underground infiltration area underneath the road. It's hard to see, but it's in this portion of the site, right in this area here. Each of the units will be serviced by an on-site sewage disposal system in accordance with Title V regulations, as well as your local Board of Health regulations. Each of the structures, it's been designed such that each of the structures will have its own leaching field and septic tank. And those septic systems have been reviewed by the Board of Health and their staff. And I believe that all of the technical comments relative to those systems have been addressed at this point. Lastly, I wanted to touch briefly on emergency vehicles and traffic management at the site. You'll notice in the back here, we have designed, it's a little bit difficult to see, but there's a T turnaround here, or a hammerhead turnaround, if you will. Sometimes we call it a hammerhead. And that has been designed so that it can accommodate the largest emergency vehicle that Concord has. And we submitted, so that the fire truck apparatus, and we did submit turning movements as part of this process, which have been reviewed by the fire department, and I believe to their satisfaction. So I think that I just wanted to point out that it's a dead end street, but we have accommodated the ability for large apparatus to be able to turn around and then to make a forward maneuver out of the site. So we don't expect any concerns relative to that. I know that I do have to apologize a little bit to this board. I was not involved in the personally involved in the planning board process, but we did receive the planning board memo to your board, which was written to your board a few days back. I did have the chance to review that. It appears that for the most part, the planning board has found the application to be in order. I also know that the project, I did want to mention that the project has also been reviewed by engineering, and they have issued their final letter as well. And I do believe most of those items have been addressed at this point as well. So, Mr. Chair, I wanted to be as brief as possible. I'm certainly happy to expound on anything that I missed or any other questions that you or the board members may have.
Thank you, Mr. Roy. That was a good synopsis of the site plan here. I'm handing it over to the board, or I'm looking at the board here to see whether there's any questions from the board here.
I have a question on the plan that's on the that he put up. I call it olive green. What is that depicting?
With your permission, Mr. Chair, through you, I used referring to the darker green. It's kind of hard to see.
Yes.
Darker green. That's the wooded areas on the site. Thank you for that. I apologize. Did my best to color up a plan, but the colors aren't terrific on this plan on the screen. So most of the site in the back portion is wooded today. So there would be a removal of trees, and there would be a woods line that would be established or maintained, I should say, right along the edge of the property. So that deep olive green color is intended to show you the portions of the undisturbed woods.
Is that part of your property?
No,
Or
it's
is that
off,
not?
it is offsite, sir. Yeah, that is
Oh,
offsite. I
okay.
just colored that just to show you that we will be ultimately in the middle of the wooded area.
Okay, thank you.
Elizabeth Ravi?
Yeah, it looks like there's now a fence on the left side of the drawing as we were looking at it. Can you tell me how tall that is?
You know, I knew you were gonna ask me that. Does Liz or Julie have a memory of what we discussed on the,
And
A
yeah, and
high-end fence.
is that the fence that the abutter was asking for? I know
I do believe so, yes. So it is intended to be a privacy fence. I would assume 6 feet. That's a standard height. And I'm getting a nod from Liz, so I believe we're proposing a 6-foot high fence. Anything taller than that, you run into a foul of structure requirements and things, so.
let me just double check also what the comment was of the neighbor.
Yeah, I think they were asking for 6 feet.
Yeah, and it was Murphy. Is that the Murphy lot?
Right.
Which is
Don't have
what's
that
the-
information.
Well, they said they're 368 Old Marlboro.
Yeah, but probably on it. Yeah, 368. So that must be that must be that, because on the other side is the Bruce
So-
Freeman Trail.
The property right here to the left is actually 416, so 360, the 386, I think you said, I think maybe on the other side of the Bruce. Freeman
We
Trail.
are requesting the 406 landscape plan to be adjusted to include a 6 feet tall barrier fence along the eastern lot line.
Okay, so this would be, easterly would be, this lot line, I believe here.
Yeah, which does not kind of make sense, because that's a Bruce Freeman Trail.
It is, yes. The Bruce Freeman Trail it's quite wide in that area. The right of way for the Bruce Freeman Trail is approximately 115 feet in that area. And it is there is a pretty good chunk of woods between the paved portion of the trail and the subject property.
Yeah, and the lower there. Sorry, Ravi, you this was your question, right?
Yeah, okay. So, I mean, if it seems like if it's gonna be headlight protection, it's just in that kind of apron between the two back houses
Right.
where there might be
Right.
headlight.
Right, and there is, I know, Elizabeth, you have your hand up. Feel free to chime in, but I also know that the planting plan shows some evergreens there.
Okay, so there is kind of like some trees in that olive green buffer there.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
It's-
all undisturbed woods, off-site, and it is wooded.
Yeah, Ms. Hughes.
And to add, where, Greg highlighted that area as far as headlights, it goes through the woods, it's down, where Bruce Freeman Rail Trail is, and then it's down to Old Marlboro Road. So there aren't any dwellings, in that
Right.
location where headlights would be an issue. And I believe the 6-foot fence where that property owner is saying, to the east, I just think most people don't have that exact sense of direction as the north arrow on the plans. So for them, that would be the east for their property.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But so I do have a question, and that's was about the acreage. You said you had 7 acres. This is 1 acre. What's happening with the other 6?
I could answer that.
Thank you, Liz.
Yeah, so the 7 acres in total was Assabet River Bluff.
Mhm.
So the 6 acres are permanently protected as open space by the town. And so the CHDC took ownership of just this 1 acre. So it was split between the 6 acres for open space with the conservation parties that Julie mentioned, and then the CHDC has this 1 acre for housing. And that was the plan going in. It went into town meeting for support for that, and it was a mixed use project from the beginning. It was a private parcel that put up for development, and it was the open space folks came to housing to have them participate in the project to make it economically feasible to buy the open space.
Thank you. And just for the record, name and address, please.
Oh, thank you. Liz Rust, and so I assist the CHDC, and I live at 201 Commonwealth Avenue.
Thank you. Thank you. No.
How far will, may I ask,
Yeah,
Theo,
go ahead.
may I
Go ahead,
ask,
Tom.
how far will the houses be from the property line?
Excellent question. We have, I believe, we're looking at about 20 feet, I believe, right in here. That's about the closest that we have on that. And similar here. That may be shown on a different sheet. I don't have that up in front of me here.
No, that's fine. No, that's fine.
So, but I would
Thank you.
assume it meets zoning for the,
Correct. Yeah, we're not asking for any zoning relief.
good. Oh, no further questions from the board. Then I am going to open it up to Elizabeth Hughes.
Thank you. So the board did receive the planning board's recommendation letter.
Thank you.
I did get feedback from from Natural Resources. And if I can share my screen, they are requesting just some minor edits. Hang on 1 second. Some minor edits should the board move to grant the PRD and adopt the planning board's recommendation letter, starting on, I believe it's page 3, that the site is 1 acre that was divided off from a larger parcel, with the remaining 6 acres being permanently protected as conservation land owned by the town through the Natural Resources Commission, with a conservation restriction jointly held by the Concord Land Conservation Trust and the Sudbury Valley trustees. Just to clarify, that 6 acres that was divided off is, I would say, super protected conservation land. So they requested that sentence be added in that location, and it is repeated again, I believe, on page 5. Under section 10.424, item A, B, C.
Yeah.
And then I think there was one other really minor. Nope, that might have been it. Oh, because there are no wetlands on the property, there's no order of conditions. The requirement that for the long-term operations and maintenance plan and inspection reports only need to be submitted to Concord Public Works Engineering and not annually to the Natural Resources Director.
Great.
And then there was one additional item, and it was a condition that was recommended from the Concord Municipal Light Plant. There is a existing utility pole in basically the middle of the proposed driveway that will have to be moved. And there's a standard condition that CMLP is requesting that be added regarding relocating that pole. Since it needs to be moved by more than 3 feet, it does require a pole relocation hearing that CMLP does through the select board.
Right, thank you. And I I just thought of another question, and these are for sale units, right? So there is a condominium board,
Correct.
and that consists just of the residents, or does the Development Corporation or any of the other housing entities in Concord have a seat on that board?
Well, the plan is for the Concord Housing Authority to own the 406, the existing structure that has 2 apartments there, and they will lease out those 2 apartments, and they will manage the condominium and sit on the condominium board.
Okay, and I'm just thinking who's gonna manage the site, right? So that sounds like. Okay, let's go and see whether there are any comments, questions from the public. And I see Mr. Bergman here, so please go ahead.
Thanks very much. Keith Bergman, 56 White Avenue, Chair of the Concord Municipal Affordable Housing Trust. And I just wanted to share with ZBA that the trust is supportive of this project. We funded the acquisition of the Assabet River Bluff 1 acre parcel for housing. We contributed $650,000 towards the $1 million purchase price. We have programmed additional trust funds for the development of these 3 units that would result from here, and we are very anxious. It's been deed restricted with all 5 of the units will be affordable, and we're looking forward to having all of those units on our subsidized housing inventory someday. So thanks very much to the CHDC for this bringing this project forward. Thanks to the Planning Board for their recommendations, and we hope for the Zoning Board of Appeals support. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Anybody else in the public wishing to speak? Seeing none, then I'm going to close the public comment section of this hearing and bring it back to the board for deliberations and next steps. As Keith has been mentioned before, we got the planning board recommendation letter. Thank you so much, planning board and Elizabeth. It's as always, it's a very thorough letter, and lays out all the reasons really why we should approve this. Gives us that's great. So I'm looking at the board here to see whether they have any comments, where they want to go. Nobody has any comments. Do you want to discuss? Do we just say planning board letter is great? Given
That's where I am.
And then and that's fine. I'm there too, but we need.
Yeah, I think it's an excellent application. It's well vetted by everyone else, and the recommendation letter was very thorough, and I think it's a great project.
Right, and it has town meeting support, so which is also a hint to us. So that said, I could entertain a motion.
Sure, I'll do it. I move that we grant a special permit, or that we approve the application by the Concord Housing Development Corporation for a special permit and site plan review under zoning bylaws section 10, 11.6 and 11.8 for a 5-unit plan residential development at 406 Old Marlborough Road, parcel number 2732, subject to the recommendations listed in the planning board letter dated, what was it, March 27th? As amended, as discussed tonight, something like that.
And with the conditions of approval.
With the conditions of approval listed therein.
Perfect.
Great.
Second.
All those in favor, say aye. Elizabeth Akers Moore,
Aye.
Ravi Fia,
Aye.
and chair votes aye as well. So congratulations, thank you very much, and
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
let's get those units built.
Yep.
Thank you very much, everybody. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Good.
Next item on the agenda being that it's 7:05, Matt Seppi, and I hope I pronounce that correctly, for special permit on the zoning bylaws section 715 and 11.6 to demolish a 1,804 square foot single-family dwelling and construct a new 4,930 square foot single-family dwelling at 177 Williams Road. Anybody here to speak? Mr. Seppi, you're being asked to unmute here. Yeah, there you go.
Good evening. Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you great. Thank you.
Great. For the record, my name is Matt Seppi from EMS Development, and my address is 24 Pond Street. So I'm here tonight in reference to 177 Williams Road. The proposal that I have is for the demolition of the existing single-family home and the construction of a new single-family home. What I thought I would do is just run through some of the specifics of the site plan and the building elevations, and then I would turn that over to the board for questions after that.
Terrific.
So the property at 177 Williams Road is located in the AA zoning district, which requires 80,000 square feet of area. This particular site has 47,603 square feet. So it is short on area, but it does conform with frontage and all the other requirements. It just is missing on the area side of things.
Can we, sorry to interrupt. Can we pull up a plan here potentially?
Good. There is an existing site plan that is on the Zoning Board of Appeals current documents page. Would someone have the ability to bring that up?
Yeah, let me try to pull that up here for a second. But in the meantime, go ahead.
Sure. So currently on the property, there is an existing two-story home. It is in very tough shape. It's been neglected significantly over the years. The site is also in pretty tough shape. It's been neglected as well. There's a lot of debris scattered around the yard. There's multiple large falling trees that are on the yard. So obviously part of our proposal would be to clean up those items in the whole site in general. So what if we could call up that existing site plan? I think that would be a good start for me to be able to show the board what we're proposing to do.
Yeah, I'm technically challenged here, but bear with me. I can't get there, but it looks a bit. I should be able to, because when I actually so far I cannot. So, but go ahead. Anyway, Kim, can you potentially pull that up? Is Kim is here.
Yeah, I'm trying, Theo. Let me just grab a.
Thank you. Oh.
I could try to do a screen share if that would be helpful.
Yeah, if you can
Yeah.
do it. My screen share here doesn't get me to where I want. So
do I need to get permission in order to do the screen share? Or, I mean, Kim, if you think you'll be able to just get to the current meeting documents, that's just as easy if you can do that.
That's what I'm trying to do. It's just not pulling up for me. Let's see.
Yeah, just
Sorry.
with our added security here, that's not helping, I don't think.
I see Elizabeth has her hand up.
Yeah, Elizabeth, you
Oh.
please go up. I'm trying to unmute Elizabeth. Yep, Elizabeth, go ahead. Yep. Yes, Elizabeth's up.
Okay,
Yeah, there you are.
okay, so, Kim can, make me, oh, she did.
Yep.
Okay, so, just need to make, Matt a co-host and he can share.
I'm just wondering why I couldn't share here as well, but.
Got that, Kim? You just make him a co-host. It's the three little dots next to Matt's name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you're.
All right, go ahead, Matt.
Go ahead.
Did I lose you?
Nope, you're still here. We're still here, but you now should be able to share.
Is that plan coming up for everybody?
Yes, there it is. Thank you.
Okay, great.
Whew.
So this is the existing site plan. As you can see, the driveway is located in the middle portion of the property, and the existing two-story dwelling is over to the right-hand side of that property. You can see the dash line that goes around is identifying where the building setback lines are. So I'll call up the next one. So on this here, this would be the proposed site plan. So we're primarily keeping the driveway in the same location, and we're just proposing to center the new house more in the middle of the lot and just get it better set up on how it could situate itself on that particular parcel. The new location does conform with all zoning setbacks. As you can see, the front yard, side yard requirements will all be met with the new location of the dwelling. So for the building elevations, what we tried to do for this particular house was to utilize the depth of the lot and keep the length of the front elevation a little bit shorter than normal, so it would better fit with the other homes that exist within the neighborhood. So the existing front elevation is about 51 feet wide. The garage would be loaded off onto the side, so that helps to try to keep the length of that front elevation better in line again with the rest of the neighborhood. As we look down here, on this right side elevation and the next elevation in the rear, I can show you, we have a couple different areas of the house where we've dropped it down to 1 story. So we have a few different roof lines to try to break up the massing of the house, so it wouldn't be just the design of one big box. See it a little bit better actually on this rear elevation. This area here in the back is a family room area, so that's down to 1 level. This area over here is an office area, so we drop that down to 1 level. We also tried to keep the ridge height down as low as we could. So we have no habitable square footage in the attic, or no, it's not even high enough to count for FAR. So we're trying to keep that ridge down as much as we can. The ridge would be located about a little less than 30 feet from the top of the concrete. So that puts it, you know, in line with, probably even a little bit lower than some of the other dwellings that exist in the neighborhood. And then on this here, one thing I would like to point out here, I did this worksheet when I was doing my FAR calculations for the neighborhood, and I mistakenly put FAR summary of existing homes on Williams Road. It really should be the square foot summary of the existing homes on Williams Road. So the proposed dwelling, well, the existing dwelling that exists right now, it's a 1,804 square feet. So allowed under zoning with the 50% increase, that would allow us to get to 2,000, a little over 2,700 square feet. So we're here because we're proposing a dwelling that exceeds the 50% increase. The proposed dwelling that we have, that consists of 4,353 square feet on the first 2 floors, plus 560 square feet in the garage. So that equates to the total of 4,913. So that square footage, I think it puts it where there's about 7 other houses that exist in the neighborhood that would have larger square footage. As you can see, it's a mix, this particular neighborhood, of non-conforming lots. I think there's 14 non-conforming lots and 10 conforming lots. And they range from 40,000 square foot lots all the way up to over 300,000 square foot lots. So as you can see, the square footages of the homes in the neighborhood varies quite a bit. So overall, as I mentioned, I think that both the existing parcel and the home are in very difficult shape, and we're hoping that our new proposed home will breathe some new life into this property and to the neighborhood. And with that, I will open it up to the board for any questions, please.
Thank you. Any questions from the board? Seeing none, hearing none.
I'm not sure I know how to unshare the screen. Do I? Oh, stop share. I see that. There we go.
There you go. Excellent, excellent. Thank you. I'm glad somebody knows the technology. I just had a question on I noticed one of the neighbors, it was the country club, right? And the other one was a family called, or a person called Hayes. Did you happen to talk to them at all?
Yes, I have distributed letters to all the folks that directly abut the property, and I've met with multiple folks there at the site, including the Hayes family. And they both the Hayes brothers that live there understand what's happening at the site, and we're coordinating activities as far as potential landscaping, buffering, or anything like that that may happen in the future. And I also have met with some other abutters along the road that came over to look at the site plans and look at the building plans.
Terrific, thank you. Having no questions here from the board, right? I will open it up to the neighbors, to the general public, and I have a raised hand by Bernd Kamjin. You should be able to unmute yourself. There you go.
Hi, Bernd Kamjin, 99 Williams Road. I just wanted to start by thanking the applicant for the detailed information provided and the thoughtful application and the design of the house, and for communicating with the neighborhood. That was very helpful to see, and we were excited about the improvement to the neighborhood. It's a nice street, and we do think that this house will fit in nicely. Just only question I had was, about a year ago, a little over a year ago, 135 Williams Road came up, which was about 2 doors down.
Yeah.
And it was in a similar situation where it was an older house that was raised and they needed to get a special permit to replace the smaller house with a quite, significantly larger one. And just given the substantial change in size and a couple other factors, the ZBA decided that they would just do a quick site visit and take a look at where the house was situated relative to the lot and the street. And I know that the applicant has taken effort here to put the house centered more on the lot, which we appreciate and all that. But there was a couple just minor things that the board, when they went there on the site visit, found could be helpful and the builder found agreeable. And now that we've seen the house built, we actually see how valuable and beneficial that was. And I don't know with the plans, I know you're all much more expert at reading the plans, and I understand the applicant took care and thought about where the house is sited, but I just was wondering if there might be any value in seeing whether or not where the house is situated, if, maybe it needs, I think the house on 135 Williams Road, it was only a couple feet where it was moved, but it was centered one way or another. And it just occurred to me that that might be valuable of the board to consider whether that would be a useful thing to just look at during a site visit. And that's all. I wish the applicant well with the project.
Right, thank you. Thanks for your comment. Anybody else? Anybody else from the public? Any comments? Seeing, hearing none, I'll bring it back to the board. As Mr. Kamji just alluded to, indeed, I remember the site visit well. Jim Smith and Ravi, we were both there, and we looked at that at the site. And every once in a while I drive that street and I look at that house and that was built, and I thought it came out pretty darn well. But do we feel that we need to do a site visit? And if so, can we do that before our next meeting on the 11th?
I don't know if I was at that site visit. I can't remember, to be honest.
No,
with
you were not. I was
Okay.
Ravi and Jim. Yeah.
Okay. I understand the value of looking at things, but I also think that every time we've done a site visit, it's in response to there being an issue with the application. It strikes me as maybe outside of our purview a little bit to go and look for issues if we don't have them already. Just a thought, but I'm open to other suggestions.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead, Elizabeth.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I live really close to this, so I have two questions. Really one main question. As far as the construction vehicles, how involved are we in the process of allowing for where those will be? I know there's not a whole lot of area, and the lot is smaller. The road, is quite narrow. So is that part of this process, or is that a separate plan that gets submitted?
I don't think it's part of this process, in the sense that that those are sort of means and methods, and the construction vehicles, where they park, etc. They need to just, if they park in the public street, they need to obey the parking rules that are in effect. So
I mean, there is no parking, and it's a narrow 2-lane without a sidewalk.
right, and if there's no parking allowed, they can't park there, and then it becomes an enforcement issue by the police, right?
Okay. That may be worth discussing a bit with the neighbors. I know when that other house was built, I wasn't on this board, but I lived in the neighborhood, and there definitely were some days where it was a little bit dicey. So, for whatever that's worth.
Yeah. Ravi, you have any input?
Yeah, I think we've all driven by there often, and I sort of remember, there was a tree, and I think the other house was a little bit kind of closer to the neighbor in terms of seeing that in person was helpful.
Yeah.
Here I feel like, it is cited very nicely kind of in the middle, and it's not as close to the sidelines. You know, it's hard to see what I would, you know, gain from a site visit. Yeah, having you know, seen the lot and, you know, knowing the neighborhood as well. So yeah, I'm kind of with Elizabeth on this one.
Yeah, so I'm torn here. I'd like to, and since we're asked to go out by a neighbor, I think, you know, it's something that we could honor and we should honor. So
What's the issue though that we're looking at when we're at the site visit? I obviously we could go to any site and say, here are some improvements, but we're not being told, oh, it's too far this way, it's too far that way, it's this, you know.
Yeah, no, you're right. And yeah, you're right. If we're thinking about 11.6, right, then it's, you know, I mean, we know the neighborhood, we know the street, we know that, you know, it fits in the general context of the homes that are there. And we know that with that tabulation that the applicant did, that it fits pretty well. So no, you're right. And Mr. Kamjin, I'll ask you to unmute, although we close the public section of this hearing. I'll
Yep. Hi, Barrett Comji, 99 Williams Road. I just want to confirm, I wasn't requesting a site visit specifically. I was just throwing it out there that it was very valuable in that other house. I understand it's different circumstances, different lot, all that. So I trust your judgment on it. I was just throwing it out there that we appreciated that for that similar situation, and looking at the siting of it, if you thought there was anything that might be beneficial from it, but I certainly wasn't requesting one. So I thank you for your time and consideration, and I think it's the applicant as well.
Oh, great. Thank you for that clarification. That was good, because I you know, the one thing that I like about this plan is that indeed the applicant has with the architecture tried to put bulk behind the house and not, you know, facing the street, right? So therefore fitting in better, and I think that's I think that's a good thing, and that's helpful. So no site visit. So are we ready to do a vote then on this, or do we need to discuss this any further?
I mean, Elizabeth and Paul, was there anything that we needed to add in conditions or anything? It seems fine to me.
Yeah, I think we have our standard conditions here,
Yeah, I
right?
don't have anything to add to that. That's what-
Okay, then Ravi, I think I'm looking at you.
I make a motion that we approve the application of Matt Seppi for a special permit under zoning bylaw section 715-11-6 to demolish an 1,804 square foot single family dwelling, construct a new 4,913 square foot single family dwelling at 177 Williams Road with standard conditions.
Thank you. Do I hear a second?
I second.
All those in favor say aye. Ms. Sophia?
Aye.
Ms. Akers-Moore?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Congratulations, and we'll yeah, good luck with the construction.
Thank you very much for your time tonight.
No problem. So being that it's 7:10, Lisa Vecchio, and again, my apologies if I mispronounced that, for a special permit on the zoning bylaw sections 4222 and 11.6 for a 909 square foot additional dwelling unit at 311 Lawsbrook Road. Anybody here to speak for the applicant? I just unmuted you. Elise, go ahead.
Yes, thank you. Yes, my name is Elise Stone, 288 Old Marlborough Road, and I'm here for the applicant, Lisa Vecchio, for 311 Lawsbrook Road. And this is an application to make this, it's actually an existing space, a legal ADU. The main house, it's on Lawsbrook Road. The main house is a ranch house with a garage. It was built in 1955. And this 3-car garage with the unit above was built in 2000. And so upstairs now it's a finished space with a staircase with a door directly to the outside. You go up the staircase and there's an open room, a bathroom, and another room, like a bedroom. And it was used kind of as a, just as a guest house type of thing. And the current owners are using it as an office. But it is 909 square feet, and there are two means of egress. There's a door, which I just described, that leads upstairs, and there's also a deck on the back that you can see on the elevations, a deck on the back with stairs to grade. So there are already the two means of egress. The 3-car garage below will remain with the main house. They use it now for storage, et cetera, and it's not part of the ADU application. The lot, it's a large lot, almost an acre, and, you know, big driveway, lots of parking. And the one dedicated spot for the ADU is shown on the right side on the site plan, if you can see that. Let's see, so the FAR, the max FAR for this site is 11,579 square feet. So the main house with its garage, the original house, has 1,590 square feet. The 3-car garage with the apartment above is 1,973 square feet. And so the total for the FAR is 3,563, which is well below the allowable FAR. So we're well below that number. And just to clarify, the top section is the 909 square feet, which is the ADU. The bottom level that comprises the second half of that 1,973 is the 3-car garage that will remain with the house. So.
Thank you. Any questions from the board? Seeing none, well, I have a question, more clarification. So there is a garage out there that has currently a habitable space above it.
Yes.
Right, and the only thing you're doing is just telling us that, you know, people can live there, right? Currently, and the only thing you're wanting from us now to know is that, you know, can we rent that out and have that as a separate unit, right? Because it's already there.
Yes, and add the kitchen.
And add the kitchen in that unit.
Exactly.
But
yes.
otherwise, you know, the shell will stay the
shell,
same.
exactly.
No changes, nothing.
Yeah, no changes, nothing. No, it's exactly as you see on the elevations, which
Yeah.
I think there's photos included. It's
Yeah, there is. I looked at it. Thank you. Seeing no comments or questions from the board, I'm going to open this up for the public, general public, see whether there's any questions or comments from the public. Hearing none, seeing none, I will close the public comment section of this hearing and bring it back to the board for the deliberations and next steps. So where is the board on this? Let me just start off here that it's to me, this was a very simple application. I think this is exactly why the additional dwelling unit bylaw came in, was voted on. And, you know, in this case, there is already habitable space and there is none added. Just some space will be converted into a kitchen. So that's where I stand. I think it's you know, I'm in favor of it. So we're
going over the reason it's going over the 750 is because that's how big the structure is already now, right? So
yes.
I think that's you know, an easy finding that there's no substantial detriment because it's already there.
Right. And then the only other thing is that there's a parking space added, right?
Yes.
So Elizabeth.
I agree.
Okay.
Would you like me to make a motion?
I would love you to make a motion.
Fantastic.
Did we get public comment?
Oh, yeah, we did.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, we did. There was none.
Yeah.
and I think, well, actually, let me rephrase that. Was there any, did we get any comments? No, we didn't get any written comments either. So, no, go ahead, Elizabeth, all yours.
Great. All right, I move that we approve the application of Lisa Vecchio for a special permit under zoning bylaws, section 4.2.2.2 and 11.6 for a 909 square feet. Additional dwelling unit at 311 Lawsbrook Road, parcel number 2062, making the applicable findings under 4222 and finding there is no substantial detriment, et cetera, under 11.6, subject to standard conditions.
I second.
All those in favor say aye. Ms. Akers Moore,
Aye.
Ms. Sophia,
Aye.
chair votes aye as well. Congratulations, Elise.
Thank you very much.
Uh,
Good night.
Good night. Good night. Being that it's 7:15, we have an application from Irina Mladenova for a special permit on the section zoning bylaw sections 4222 and 11.6 for a 999 square foot detached additional dwelling unit at 262 Virginia Road. Anybody here to speak for the applicant? I'm trying to unmute you. There you go.
Thank you. I'd like to make a presentation if you'd let me share screen, please.
Yeah, since we couldn't get that done, Kim, can you make him co-host, please, so that he can? Okay, you should be able to do now. You'll be able to do that now. We see your screen.
Okay, very good. Thank you. So, Mr. Chairman and members of the board, thank you for this opportunity to present our application for the special permit to build an accessory dwelling unit of 999 square feet at 262 Virginia Road. I'm Michael Gresti. My wife, Irina Mladenova, is the owner. I'm the applicant, and we reside at 262 Virginia Road. So first, some context. Virginia Road runs more or less east-west in this northeastern part of town. I can probably see my cursor here showing that. And it's in the northeast part of the town. It connects Old Bedford Road to the west and Hanscom and Route 2A to the east. As you can see from this map, which comes from the town's GIS, the area is characterized by very diverse parcel sizes, frontages, and setbacks. Quail Run over here and Elmbrook over here are very different from the typical parcels on Virginia Road. 262 is located here, and we'll talk more about that in detail. Most of the homes here are two-story homes, and there are extensive wetlands, which I'll show in the next image. Right? In this area detail on the left, you can see Massport land in light pink, which is mostly wetland, and town land in the darker pink, which is also mostly wetland. So these parcels are largely surrounded by wetlands on all sides. The image on the right is a blow-up of that area showing how 262 is nestled in towards the back of the area and fronts onto the wetland. It also shows the common drive, which was built to accommodate access to all three properties, and at the time, the necessity of building separate entrances to all three. But the house at 262 is built around 1985, and it's set back from the road like 244 and others because of the frontage. We've done an analysis of the impervious surface ratios on the properties in the area in those two, Virginia Road and adjacent properties, as well as Quail Run. And what we wanted to show here is that the 262 has the smallest footprint of all of these. It also has the largest parcel size. And so the ratio of footprint or impervious area to parcel size is 2.3, which is the smallest of all. If we were to add the ADU, and I just rounded it to another 1,000 square feet, that would increase that ratio to 3.7, still putting it in the bottom quartile of the homes here. This impervious area calculation, of course, excludes septic tanks and drives because this data is not readily available. The house is a typical colonial, and we purchased it because of the extensive landscaping and open spaces which we fell in love with and which we are lucky to enjoy today. We have carried out extensive renovations on the house to bring it up to a modern living house for our family. And we don't propose to perform any additional alterations in the immediate as part of the ADU project. I just want to state that my wife and I are very passionate about the built environment and committed to quality and sustainability. We believe that design can enhance people's lives, communities, and relationship with the environment. I have a master's degree in architecture from Paris and worked as a designer in London, Paris, and France. My wife has an urban planning degree from Harvard, and we've worked extensively together. Towards the back of the site, by contrast, and we call this the back of the site because it's really the front of the site on Virginia Road, there's a former orchard which the owners neglected as they put emphasis on the front of the site, which I just showed you. And so many of the fruit trees there are in pretty poor condition. There are many mature pines on Virginia Road, which have also not been well pruned in the past, but they're still mature and very solid. So we don't make much use of this area because it's quite remote from the house. It's more exposed to the road, and because of the condition of the trees and so on. We find it also time-consuming, expensive to maintain. Just another example from context. This is a house that's going up about a quarter mile west of us. A large, very large house, much out of scale, I would say, with many other houses on the street, but nonetheless, it's been permitted. And I want to stress that what we're proposing to do is obviously not as bulky and large as this particular example. To begin to focus a little bit on the site itself and the project, you can see on the left here, we have the site plan, and it shows mature trees and so on around the site, especially to the north here. It shows the setbacks from the street, 40 feet here and 15 feet on each side. It also shows the septic tank system for the existing house, which is at capacity and would be insufficient to accommodate any new construction. And you can see here the common drive, which gives access to all three homes. On the right is the ADU site plan. We've cited the ADU as far back from the street as 244 here and 300 on the other side of Quail Run to align with them. The leach field and septic tank design is in the front here. We've designed that in such a way that we can preserve as many trees on the site as possible, thereby creating screening from the road. And just as this part of the site is currently landscaped, we intend to improve the landscaping here and make it much more attractive and livable. If you look at a slightly more detailed plan, we can see that we're proposing a drive from this corner of the site with parking spaces for the occupants and visitor parking over here. Some steps up to a deck, separate entrance into the house here, and entrances from the south side here where the living rooms and others are. Our intent is to ensure that the deck and the drive are pervious. There are many ways to accomplish pervious drives, such as with pervious pavers and the like. We're exploring options. This shows a more detail of the plan itself. You can see that we have an entrance hallway and a half bathroom off that. Kitchen living room is a contiguous space, a master bedroom with a dressing and bathroom, and a second bedroom here. This area has a double height space. These spaces have attic above that. The stair goes to the basement up to the attic. There's an outside stair for bringing in materials from the outside, not having to take them through the house. And here are other levels: the basement with storage, laundry, and utilities. The attic with storage and an open space over the living dining. And the roof plan showing some of the skylights to bring light into the main room and into the attic. Some colored elevations, looking at the house from the south, our side, looking at it from the west. I seem to have lost a slide there, I apologize. Just to delve into the septic tank a little bit further, it's been engineered by Dillis and Roy, a Concord firm. As we explained, it's too far from the existing septic tank for us to use that. That's also at capacity. We've designed the septic tank to be as small as possible, which is the minimum allowed by the regulations under Title V. And with the town, we've dug 4 test pits, which have been inspected, and the town has found that we're still above the water table. For access, we intend to use the existing informal access, which is here in the northeast corner of the site. So the road would begin where these 2 markers are and go back towards the house, which would be located approximately here. This is a view from the site towards this entrance has been here as an informal one for many years, used by landscapers and others. And since all houses in this area parcels have to have frontage, this is a natural place to build the new access that would be required for the ADU. So in conclusion, we want to say that we intend to build this to the highest standards of sustainability that we can adopt. High performance insulation windows requiring minimum heating and cooling, no fossil fuels, and using renewable and other materials where possible. We understand that the town is fully aware of the benefits of ADUs, and that modestly larger ADUs, simply 250 square feet larger, provide additional benefits without any downsides. These include greater diversity and flexibility in the format and supply of ADUs, more livable and appealing to tenants, which will promote longer and more stable rental terms, more appealing to younger couples and small families, and offer more options to the homeowner to house close relatives, extended family or tenants, and further increase the town's property tax base. We respectfully request that the Zoning Board of Appeals approve our application for a special permit to build an ADU of 999 square feet. Thank you.
Right, thank you. So now, would you be able, Mr. Grasky, to pull up the existing existing condition survey?
On the left.
That will suffice. Thank you. So now the typical course of action of this process would be that I bring this now to the board and ask them to opine and ask you questions, and then I'll bring it out to the public, and then we'll get it back to the board, and then we'll talk about, or we'll deliberate and talk about next steps. I want to actually pause that process here for a little bit, and I would like to ask the board to read section 6.2.4 of the zoning bylaw. And give you this lot, the zoning bylaw lot is, although it has reduced frontage, it's 120 feet frontage, where it should have 150, but it's a conforming lot, because where the dwelling, the house is sitting, it's over 150. So as you can see, this lot is narrow up front and then sort of bulges out, if you will, at the rear. And there we have 150 foot width. So, and the existing condition survey that is noted. Actually, it is noted on the existing condition survey that this is a frontage exception lot, and what it says in a frontage exception lot, and I'm reading it a certain way, and I'm bringing this up here because I'm not a legal expert, to say the least, on this board, and there is some really good. So there are some really good legal minds on this board, so I would like to bring it up. And it reads that let me paraphrase here. It reads that there's no dwelling unit that can be built in the narrow section of the lot. It can only be built on the wider, and as it's with the house, and the wider section of the lot. So, and I'm not, I would like to poll my fellow board members to opine on this. Anybody have any say?
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I consulted with the town planner on these setbacks and the location, and we agreed that that was viable. So perhaps she should weigh in.
Well, town planner is not here at the moment, I'm actually yeah. Well, let's. Elizabeth, Ravi, other Elizabeth, do you have any comments here, or do you want me to just go on this? I'm contending that there is an ADU possible on this lot, but it needs to be on the rear end of the lot.
Yeah, I when I read this, I read it the same way you do. I also have a question about the ADU bylaw that says if it's not town sewer, the on-site subsurface disposal system is adequate to accommodate any increased flows generated by the ADU. I mean,
Yeah, but
do we interpret that as, you know, the septic has to have capacity, or you can just build a whole new septic, especially given the kind of environmental concerns here? So I have another question.
I didn't even want to sort of get into that.
Okay.
Why let's pause everything here and let's see whether this location is correct.
Can you just point me, Theo, in 4.2.2.2, point me to where I agree with you. I mean, it's almost an exactly what's shown in the bylaw, the plan, right? I mean, what you're looking at, I agree. The line would have to be in front of that building and not behind the building, right? I mean, the measurement, the widest part.
Right. So I can't point here to here, but where the sort of the rear property line of number 244 is, right? That's sort of where the property bulges out, and that's where you have more than 150 feet or more, right?
Right.
And so in that area, I think, one could say there is an ADU allowed. I mean, an ADU is allowed and viable on this property. I think, like, it's allowed, ADUs are allowed up to 750 square foot by right on any of these lots in this area. But I'm just reading the zoning bylaw.
I'm just looking for where the frontage, so I'm looking, at 4.2.2. I'm sure it's there. I just am not seeing.
No, I'm not even looking at 4.2.2. I'm looking at 6.2.4.
Right. I understand that.
And that says really that you have your dwelling unit on a lot that's wider, on a part of the lot that's wider than 150 or more.
I see what you're saying. Interestingly, in 4.2.2.2, it calls out specific, it says, for example, the additional dwelling unit shall meet the required setbacks, shall meet the required height. I'm looking to where it says shall meet the applicable frontage. You know what they're specifically calling out certain parts of the zoning in 4.2.2.2.
Yeah.
Reduction in required setbacks. You know what I'm trying to see here where it talks about frontage. I'm not seeing it. And if it doesn't, I'm not saying that your point is invalid.
It's not talking about frontage in there, but in 6.2.4, it says, and let me read it for people who don't have this up in front of them. A dwelling in residence AA or A and B districts may be constructed on a lot having 80% of the minimum lot frontage, provided that the lot width at the nearest point on the front wall of the dwelling to the sideline of the right-of-way shall not be less than the minimum lot frontage, and that the angle formed by the intersection of the side lot line and the sideline of the right-of-way shall not be less than 45 degrees. So it's it says that, and that's why this is a perfect example of this piece of the bylaw, right? It has 120 feet of frontage, which is 80% of the 150. So it's a legal lot. But then it says the dwelling, the place where the dwelling is placed on this lot needs to have, if you draw a line on the front wall of this dwelling and you go to both property lines, that needs to be a minimum of 150. And it's silent on the fact whether that's, the main dwelling, an additional dwelling unit. It just says dwelling. And so I'm thinking that's an additional dwelling unit.
I'd respectfully submit that the town planner and her team looked at this and concluded that this was a viable location based on what Ms. Akehurst Moore just identified, that that 150-foot rule does not apply for the ADU.
I'm curious what the Paul thinks. Paul, are you still on? If that's okay, Theo, if we
Yeah,
ask.
no, absolutely. Let's let Paul speak.
Yeah, I was of the belief that this would be allowed also. I think the frontage exception, in my opinion, was for the primary residence, not an accessory structure. That's how I came. That's what I came away from this. And 4222, Elizabeth, to your point, doesn't specifically disallow that. So I'm inclined to agree with you, Elizabeth. Does
So,
anybody else have any thoughts on it?
yeah, I know. Elizabeth and Ravi, I'm looking at you a little bit. So I'm thinking that this location is not an allowed location on this lot.
Okay.
And that there is a location, ADU location on this lot allowed once there is a greater lot width. And,
I also can't, off the top of my head, say this. If there is a special permit provision, are we allowed to waive frontage requirements, or are we getting into variance? Off the top of my head, I don't know the mechanism.
Yeah, but I don't think it's either one of those. I mean, it's like, it potentially will be a variance. I mean, because it's a legal lot, right? It's a legal lot. And that's noted. It's called a frontage exception lot. And I'm just reading this, that the lot width at the nearest point on the front wall of the dwelling to the sideline shall not be less than the minimum lot frontage. So I'm
not arguing that there's not an argument there, Theo, depending on what side was paying me to be their lawyer, but I don't know. I'd be curious what Robbie and Elizabeth think too, and maybe.
Yeah, I see your side as well, but I also don't think that 4222, just because it doesn't call out some other section of the zoning bylaw, exempts what you build from complying with
other sections.
With zoning, right?
Oh, you could make the argument that why didn't it specifically call it out if it called out the other ones? You know what I mean? I'm not arguing. I mean, both arguments are there. I guess maybe what I'd say is there are a lot of other issues to deal with here. Maybe we put maybe we do put a pin in it.
Yeah, no, I think if we come to the decision that this location is incorrect, then we don't even, and it's a waste of time dealing with all the other issues, right?
Yeah. No, it's a point.
Yeah, no, I
because
think it calls out,
was thinking
I think it calls out those other sections because you could have accessory structures that didn't have living space in them that might be allowed somewhere that living space is not allowed.
Okay.
when whoever drafted this probably wasn't thinking of this very unique situation, right? With the hammerhead and the frontage lot exceptions. Like if somebody had pointed it out to the drafter, they might have been like, oh yeah. But I just can't see somebody thinking of that when they're drafting 4222 to call it out, because it's going to be rare. So I don't know. I think because this is a contentious application and there are arguments on both sides.
Town council?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's where we should go. I think this is a question that needs to be answered by town council.
Yeah, and that's
and-
why I
and-
raised Theo the other question about the septic, because if we're asking town council, I wouldn't
Yeah.
mind.
Huh.
I agree with that, Robbie.
Yeah, yeah. If you have another one, then sure. But yeah, so that's we need to obviously start with this. Is this location correct? And as I stated before, I think this is a lot just like all the other lots that allow additional dwelling units on the lot. And I think there's my opinion is that this location is not allowable by zoning, but I see plenty of other space on that lot where one could build an additional dwelling unit, whether it's attached to the existing home or not. But I think here where you put a dwelling on a lot width that is not the width of the lot that's not supported by the zoning bylaw, then I think it's incorrect. So,
Mr. Chairman, may I speak?
who's speaking?
Michael Grasty, sorry.
Okay, yeah, Mike. Sorry, yeah. Go ahead.
I appreciate the comments and feedback from the board, but I just want to state for the record that I consulted in person with Ms. Hughes on 2 occasions, and we reviewed the zoning and the site, and she showed me the setbacks and explained where it would be possible to build, which is why we chose this area. So I've been looking for 6 months, and I have emails. I'm sorry, I just want to finish for the record. I have emails to support that, that this was a permissible location of all the possible locations on the site, which is why we proceeded to this point. Well, she was one of my the first people that I went to meet with, because it was important for us to establish what was possible.
And I appreciate that, but I mean, it's as Ravi just said, this is a unique situation. I'm not sure whether Ms. Hughes was noted that or had knew that this was a frontage exception lot. I think she might have thought that this was a non-conforming lot with its 120-foot frontage. Second of all, it's it's your responsibility to make sure that the application is good. It's not Ms. Hughes' responsibility that you do your homework. So I'm defending Ms. Hughes here, and she is. I'm sure she did the best she could, and I'm sure she was not aware of the fact that this was a frontage exception lot. I think it's something that popped up yesterday when I was working on this and trying to prep, where I at first thought that it was a non-conforming lot, but then it turns out that it is a pretty specialized item in a zoning bylaw that doesn't come up often. So, and that's, I think, what got the ball rolling here. And, I felt, and I still feel pretty clearly on that. So we're gonna
state for the record
pause.
that I respectfully disagree, because Ms. Hughes and I spent quite a bit of time looking at this.
That's fine. That is your prerogative that you disagree, and that's good. But and that's why we are gonna be talking to or getting an opinion from town council on this one. And you know, there is, as Elizabeth Akers Moore just said, there is a lot of stuff on this ADU. It has a lot of baggage, and we need to sift through that, and that's going to cost us a ton of time. And I don't want to do that if we are not clear whether this location of this unit is correct. Is it allowable? Actually, it's not correct. Whether this is allowable or not. So I think we should be closing the public hearing at this point in time, and then we will continue it
Dale,
through. Yeah.
Apologies, before we do that, can we, I mean, I actually think, Robbie, your point is very good about the wording of the sewer or on-site subsurface disposal system. So we're gonna ask that question as well?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Of course, and any other question that we deem is appropriate to ask, we need to get them all out now, and then we'll come back here. Hopefully we'll get an answer, and then we'll come back here. May 9th, I think, is when the next board hearing is, and then if depending on what we get back from the from town council, we can then go forward with this application, or we're going to ask the applicant to withdraw without prejudice. Does that sound like a plan? Do we need to formulate what we're gonna be asking? No, I'm not taking, by the way, I see a hand up. I'm not taking public comment here. We paused our normal proceedings. We're gonna go to town council. So there's no public input. We have not reached, because the board hasn't even asked questions about the application. Do we need to formulate the questions to town council?
I think they're pretty straightforward. Does section
6.2.4
you know, mean that the location of this proposed ADU is not buildable?
So, yeah.
Whether or not the section 4.2.2 subsection, right? I have a lot of things in front of me. Robbie, what's?
Yeah, 4222I.
I.
Yeah.
Whether that would allow someone to build a separate septic system, or whether it must be tied into an existing septic or sewer system. Right?
Yep. Okay. And then Tim, next meeting is April 11. We won't have an answer back from town council by then. So the following meeting is May 9th, right?
Yes.
And do we have a time?
We only have one applicant for that time slot.
So this will be 7:05.
Be 7:05, yes.
Okay, cool.
Mr. Chair, may I ask a question?
Sure.
Why wouldn't it be possible for the town council to respond on those two items in that time frame? I've been very successful in getting answers from very responsive folks in town to my inquiries at various levels, whether it's town planning or the building department or water.
Well, I happen to know that your town council is not it's not town staff. Well, we have an outside consultant. Anderson Krieger is the firm that we use. By the time we have this formulated over to them, and then back with an answer. I mean, they need to do some work, some research. We are in the midst of a couple of 40B applications this board is, and they are helping us with one of them writing a decision. So they're pretty busy, and I don't want to continue something to the next meeting, so that we can continue it again. I do want to give them appropriate time to formulate a decision. It's obviously there's a lot riding on their decision, and they won't be saying yay, nay, very lightly. They will need to take some time and work through this. So I don't think we're going to be ready by April 11th. So Ravi, Elizabeth, can we do a motion?
Yeah, go ahead, Ravi.
Move to continue the application of Irina Mladenova for a special permit under bylaw sections 4222 and 11.6 for 999 square foot detached ADU at 260 Virginia Road to May 9th at 7:05 p.m.
And I second.
All those in favor, say aye. Ms. Fia.
Aye.
Ms. Akers-Moore.
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Thank you so much, and we'll see you on May 9th.
Thank you.
GDT 720. Carolyn Holden for a special permit on the zoning bylaws section 627 and 11.6 to construct a two-story addition which requires a waiver to the 15-foot height limit within the required 15-foot setback at 23 Shirley Street. Anybody here to speak in favor? I will ask you to unmute. Yep, there you go.
All right, thank you very much. All right, hi, my name's Nathaniel. I'm with Stacey McNary. I see that Carolyn, the owner, is also here. I'm representing this project. If you give me the access to share my screen, I'll put the plans up and everything.
I would like to be able to do that, but Kim, can you help?
Okay. Well, that's happening just as heads up. For some reason, my internet's been going in and out all night. This never happens. I do meetings all the time. Never happens. I'm so sorry. If I happen to get bumped out, I'll be right back. I hope it doesn't happen though.
All
right. All right. I'm still waiting on the thing, but I'll just give a little bit of a background while the screen share gets enabled. This is at 23 Shirley Street. It's a single family house, and we're here requesting a special permit to section 6.2.7 of the bylaw, which governs side yards. So this is for an addition on the east side of the dwelling. So basically, as you all know, so in this area, the 15-foot side yard setback is 15 feet.
Nathaniel, hang on for a second.
Yep.
Kim, can you make Nathaniel co-host, please?
I'm trying.
Yeah, I was looking at it here as well, but I have all these options here for you, but not to make, I can report you, I can remove you, but I can't.
I wouldn't like any of those. Wouldn't be too helpful.
On it.
Here we go.
I see it. There we go.
Okay.
Awesome. Excellent. Thank you. All right, so this is a little bit better. All right, so this is the existing house. Like I said, it's off of Shirley Street in a residential neighborhood. So in this, so this is the existing conditions. So in this area, the side yard setback is 15 feet, and the existing house, the roof line where it is about 15.5 feet away. So the proposal is to put an addition on the east side of the dwelling. So as you all know, Concord has a 3-foot side yard allowance that you can take within certain bounds. So basically what we're doing is we are taking the 3-foot side yard allowance, but we are exceeding the maximum height of 15 feet. So basically this proposed addition will match the height of the existing house, which is 28.5 feet. And it'll be within the allowed within the 3-foot allowed side yard setback. So just a little bit of background on the house, which kind of covers the reason for this. So this is a pretty small house. It was built in 1908, so it's very, very old. And the whole point of this project is to update it, to put it into a place where a family can live more comfortably. It has been updated in quite a while. It's definitely in need of a bit of expansion. So most of the updates to the house are happening on the second floor. So kind of the background that was given from the owner, I'm sure she could explain it better than me, was that this house is in a residential neighborhood, kind of in close proximity to an elementary school and a park. So it's kind of geared towards families. So the whole point of this is to expand the house a little bit so a family of 4 can live comfortably in the house. So like I said, most of the work is going into the second floor of the house, which puts the height above the 15-foot maximum within the side yard. So for example, there's only 1 bathroom in the house and there's no bathroom on the second floor where the bedrooms are. So it's putting a bathroom on the second floor. There's also not really a working laundry room. The laundry is kind of just done in this kind of hard to access spot in the basement, for what I've been told. So this is giving like an actual designated spot to do laundry on the second floor. So those are kind of the reasons for why this is before the ZBA at this point, because the work that needs to be done in this house needs to expand the second floor, and there's really no room. As you can see, kind of the house is very tightly packed against the setbacks. So the only place that we can really expand it is on that side of the house, which goes over the height limitation. I know, and in the application, I note that we have 2 letters of support from the neighbors. One of them happens to be that neighbor immediately to the east, which is the neighbor that's going to be looking kind of directly at this house, the neighbor on the same side of this setback that we're going over. And they kind of wrote just a brief letter expressing that they didn't have any issues with it for CONSCOM, and basically the addition as is presented is going to be approved. They're just going to close and approve it at the next meeting. To my knowledge, as I'm pretty sure I covered everything here. I don't really have much more to add. I think I covered all the important parts, but I'm happy to expand on anything. And I'll give it back to the chair. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much. Members of the board, any questions? No.
Well,
Robbie?
I think, we have to, this is one of those where we have to find that there's no reasonable alternative. So I would like to ask Mr. Cataldo if he could just talk through why couldn't you put the addition in the back versus on the side here?
Yep, so I can just kind of go into it. So if you look at kind of the architectural plan here, so this is the second floor. So the architect isn't here. I'm kind of taking it from here, but my understanding with talking with him is that it's kind of an architectural thing that, based on where the layout of the second floor is, where the staircase and where the important elements of the house are located, you can't really create this addition on the other side of the house. Also, just with the width that's required to kind of give us the living space that we're looking for, because the house is packed kind of really tightly against the setbacks as it is. We're only expanding it by about, a few feet and still going over. If we, like I said, notwithstanding the fact that it's not really possible from an architectural standpoint on other parts of the house, we're kind of still looking at this house being pushed up against all the setbacks, except in the rear where it doesn't really make sense architecturally. Even in the front, it's over the existing setback. So we're not, can't go in that direction really. That wouldn't make much sense. I can't really talk much more specifically than that, but basically that is what makes sense with the interior of the house.
Okay, and that floor plan we're looking at is the updated, right? Like that's
yeah. So this is the second floor. So if you kind of look on so this where the hatching is what's being added. So for example, the stairs are right here. That's not, so changing it on the other side of the house isn't really an economically feasible option, basically.
Okay. Okay.
Anybody else, any questions? Let me open it up to the public. Anybody from the public wishing to speak? Seeing none, hearing none, I'll bring it back to the board. Thanks for asking that question, Ravi. The other thing you need, as was mentioned, there's 2 letters of support, and one letter of the neighbor that's directly affected by this addition. So getting a letter of support from that neighbor is always a very powerful statement. So I have no problems with this. I think if the neighbor that's directly abutting this is fine with it, then I'm going to be fine with it.
I agree. And Robbie, I appreciate you having the applicant walk through the alternative analysis, which I can accept as a reason to grant this.
Excellent. Anybody?
I guess one other question, just so as I understand it, you're taking 3 feet on the east side, but you have 3 feet to give on the west side. Is that correct?
Sorry, can you repeat that we have?
You're taking 3 feet on the east side going into the setback, but I think what the bylaw says, you have to give 3 feet you have to have 3 feet to give on the other side, right?
Yes, which we do, yep. So let me try to just add up.
So that front corner on the west side, if you move the west side setback 3 feet, that's still good.
Yep, so I just checked it real quick. So the roof on one side is 12.9, so that's 2.1 feet into the setback. And then on the opposite side, the roof as close to point is 17.5 feet. So that's 2.5 feet away from the setback. So we're only taking 2.1 out of the 3, and we're giving 2.5 back on the other side.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Yep.
Somebody's being very thorough here tonight. Thank you, Robbie.
Well, I was all geared up for a 4-hour meeting, so I gotta. I move that we approve the application of Carolyn Holden for a special permit under zoning bylaws section 6711(6) to construct a 2-story addition, which requires a waiver to the 15-foot height limit within the required 15-foot setback at 23 Shirley Street, finding that, as discussed, there's no substantial detriment to the neighborhood, and there was no reasonable alternative to put this addition anywhere else with standard conditions.
I second.
All those in favor say aye. Ms. Fia.
Aye.
Ms. Akers Moore.
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Thank you so much, Nathaniel. Good luck, Carolyn.
Yep.
And
all right, thank you, everyone.
Take care.
You too.
Well, you are all geared up for a 4-hour meeting, and it's now getting easier now. Now we're gonna get easier. Although, especially if you like pickleball. Concord Concrete Corp for a special permit on the zoning bylaws sections 416, 11.6, and 11.8 to construct 3 outdoor pickleball courts at 246 Old Road to 9 Acre Corner. And well, actually, the applicant has requested a withdrawal of the application without prejudice, it says here, which I had not seen.
Yeah, even easier than you thought.
It's even easier than I thought, because it was like pickleball, and I looked at it and it's like, well, there's no neighbors here, so that's I'm like, gosh. Well, next one, 7:30, and we're still
we have
like,
We still have to move, we have to accept it. So
okay.
I
Sorry.
move that we what do I say? Accept the withdrawal. Yeah, withdrawal of application without prejudice.
I second.
All in favor say aye. Ms. Akers Moore.
Aye.
Ms. Sophia.
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Last one, 7:30, Howard J. Sober.
Oh, Theo, you're on mute somehow. I don't know if you hit it by accident or.
I'm just ready.
I think I might have done that, and I don't even know how, but I think I might. So you're welcome.
You used the
Sorry
force.
about
Yeah. Force mute.
Okay. Howard J. Solberg at 7:30. Howard J. Solberg Jr. for special permit site plan review on section on the zoning bylaw sections 423, 77212, 11.6, and 11.8 for a combined business resident use in the floodplain conservancy district and relief from the required open space and parking for 14 parking spaces at 166 Commonwealth Avenue. The applicant has requested the public hearing to be continued without discussion to April 11th, 2024. So, what time would they be on the agenda, Kim?
They will be on at 7:30.
They will be on at the same time, 7:30. Or we have actually, it's that day we have, I asked that the first item on that agenda is like 15 or 20 minutes, which is the 40B decision. So that's why, it might feel like there's a long agenda that night, but there isn't a short one. But anyway, that was that explanation. But anybody wishes to make a motion here to accept that extension and to continue to April 11 at 7:30.
I'll make that motion that you just said to continue the hearing until April 11th at 7:30 p.m.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Ms. Akers-Moore.
Aye.
Ms. Fia.
Aye.
And chair votes aye as well. So that concludes tonight's hearing. I always like to get stuff concluded, so we have only one continuance. So
Great work.
we'll see where that ends, and yeah, see where that ends, and I'm looking forward to getting something from town council. So
Great.
it'll take a bit, but
Great.
before everybody leaves, so next week, April 4th, we had the Forest Ridge meeting that they asked for a continuance on. So we're going to need a quorum, going to need 3 people that night for 2 minutes.
Yep.
To accept the continuance and continue it to, I think, May
9th.
He said, no, this is Forest Ridge. This
Oh,
goes to
sorry.
May 17 or 16 or something. This is the 40B.
Right.
So that's I need, we're gonna need 3 people, and I will be there, so I need 2 others.
I can be there for that. I have that in my
Excellent,
calendar.
I can join. I promise not to drive to the townhouse this time.
But you gotta come April 11th, or April 11th it is, and not townhouse, it's a Kai's Road. So you gotta come for that. And there was just one other thing. Oh, just to give you a heads up, Elizabeth Akers-Moore, on April 11th. I am going, since that's going to be your last meeting, I am going to be asking you to make the motion for the 40B.
Thanks.
That is just my part. And I actually also thought there was a variance request on that same also just before you leave. There's a variance request.
Great.
On
Maybe
that
we'll
agenda.
continue that to the next hearing.
No, you're the specialist in those things. You're the specialist.
I'm
So
the specialist, but yeah. Well, I'm sure like you said, Elizabeth, I'll miss all the fun, but
You will
I
miss
mean,
all.
so, but I do May 9th. I do expect you to listen in.
Maine, yeah, all right. Yeah, okay, I'll be there.
Anyway, we don't need a motion to adjourn, right? So Kim, Paul, thanks for being here tonight.